Hey, people. I'm Patty, talking to myself for a few minutes. People will come on. They'll be with me and sit with me. I hope. Cleaning off my desk so I feel more Patty-like. Because I don't like a lot of clutter. How is everybody? Oh, my head is huge today. Okay, big hair. It's very windy out here in Tallahassee for whatever reason. Trying to decide what to do with my evening. Yeah, I'm live. I was like, am I even live? Well, this was a spontaneous lie. Live, not a lie. Spontaneous. Trying to go on my camera here. I got to go take pictures of myself later. I have an assignment for my photography class, which is very humbling, by the way. And it's to take, I have to, not take, but you have to take like 400 photos. But I have to send in 40 photos of myself, and it is quite humbling. Those close-up shots are just, it's a lot. It's a lot. My daughter's like, I sent the photos to my daughter. It's like, Molly. She's like, Mom, I thought there would be more close-up photos. Well, there's not, Molly. Not a lot of close-ups. What are they thinking? Close-up? I'm 57 years old. What is there to see? Like, oh my God. I'm almost 57 and a half. Oh my God. I'm definitely older. I look so glam. Well, Merv, I'm going to send the photos to you, and I'm going to let you pick them. God, it is hot in this room. So hot. Turn this air down. I had a fan on behind me, but you can't be on the microwave and have microphone and have the fan on. So I had a busy day today. What did you all do today? Well, thank you, Francis. I wasn't, believe it or not. I like the distance between this and the camera. Dude, I must have taken 400 photos of myself yesterday, which is just clearly embarrassing. And then you see like every bump, you know, the camera, this is the camera I use. So this is the camera. It's a Canon EOS RP, and it's a 50 millimeter. I just feel so comfortable holding a camera now, which is kind of cool. But it's a lot to take a picture of yourself. So one of the assignments is I'm supposed to take a picture within a picture. So I thought it would be fun. Let me take this off. So I've taken pictures of myself. Let me see if I can even see it. Okay. So I'm going to take a picture of myself holding myself. Like, see. That's not really my good side. What is my... This is hilarious. I'm laughing too hard for this to be part of my assignment. Hilarious. How many people get to be on YouTube and take a picture of themselves while they're on? It's hilarious. Absolutely. I was gut busting laughing at myself yesterday. I was over in Southwood, and there's these photos that you have to take. I can only describe the humility, okay? So there's so many beautiful trees in this neighborhood of Southwood. It's really a beautiful neighborhood. It's one of those eat, live, play, work. A lot of state offices are in there. And there was like, there's 4 categories for the photos. Just a portrait, how you present to the world. Disguise. Where people like, they'll put like, say they put the camera in front of their face and took a photo. That's a good idea. I'll do that. take a camera in front of theirs. Then there's the interpretive. I was like, what the hell is an interpretive photo? So I'm going to do this. I don't even think it'll do it. See, I'm not even good at this. And what's an interpretive photo? Patty has to take an interpretive photo of herself. And I'm so glad I got my nails done for it. That's what made me happy. I was like, my nails were a wreck yesterday. So I got my nails done. I feel much better. Had to run across town. Let me do this again try to do it without laughing. Be serious. Absolute hilarity. So, got the nails done, had to run across town for this NEBA meeting. And it used to be the Northeast Business Association, and now it's like Neighborhood Entrepreneurial Business Association, so that it's not just the Northeast. So that's why I didn't really know the name of the networking group I was at today, because I didn't. So it's NEBA. It's a great gig because it's like $45 a year. It's like super cheap. And then you have lunch once a month. And this lunch was bringing in candidates for the commission. So today we had city commissioners. So it was Curtis Richardson, whose wife is a district judge here, and this lady named Dorothy Inman Johnson, who got very upset, by the way. Like she was throwing it down. She was very upset on the dais. She was very upset. So then as I was leaving, as I said in that brief minute and a half live, as I was leaving, Jack Campbell is in front of me, and he's ahead of me, and we're walking out the door. And in my head, I was like, ask him about Wendy, ask him about Wendy, ask him about Wendy. Like, Patty, just do it. Because, it's really hard for me to ask for anything. It's just really hard. So I said, oh, you're in a hurry. I'm probably going to arrest Wendy Adelson. And he started laughing. And I was like, oh, good. I made him laugh. Because that's usually my cue. Like, I can usually do something if I make someone laugh. So I made him laugh, and then I asked him. And he goes, George is working really hard on it. So it's just like the video. George is working really hard on it. And then he kind of slowed down. Now we're side by side because he opened the door for me. And then he says, it's a big thing. Double jeopardy is a big thing. And I said, and I don't think people realize here that you got to do it one at a time. We're doing it one at a time. And he repeated himself. And I said, I don't think people realize here how hard it is to get a conviction in this county. And that's what I said. Because you had Siegfried, I said, I call him Sigfredo Garcia, and Magbanua. And he's like, he didn't say anything, but you knew he knew because she got a mistrial. So that's what happened. And then I was like, oh my God. I got him to respond to me. I don't know who that is. I'm going to turn this off. I got him to respond to me, which was the killer. To me, that was the biggest thing because I would have just kept walking. I'd be like, hey, yeah, how you doing, ma'am? How you doing? Because I don't know if he knows who I am. I don't know if he knows my name's Patty or if he knows I'm YouTube, or I'm sure he remembers me from the trial, right? Got to see the hair. So anyway, I did it, and then then I went live real quick, and then I thought, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Probably shouldn't have gone live. Probably shouldn't have repeated everything. I held some things back. I did hold a couple things back that he said. But anyway, that's where we're at. So we'll see. Time will tell. But it gave me some good, a good feeling that they are actively working on it. He could have easily said no comment. He could have easily said, we're working things out. He didn't say what he could easily have just kept going and walking and been like, did she mention Wendy Adelson to me? Like he could have, but he didn't. He stopped, he said it, and there you go. So that was the only conversation I've ever had with Jack Campbell. I have clients that are really, really, really good friends with his, but we've never had a conversation, and it wasn't really a conversation. It was me asking. So I'm sure that he's thrilled in the parking lot that he stopped to chat with me and walk along with me. And but I'm grateful for it because it gave me encouragement that they are working on it. They are going to do it one at a time, Carl. And there's more to come, you know. Isn't that what Georgia says? There's more to come. So that was my day. And then I came here and I tried to work on photography and it was a mess. It's a mess. So I'm going to take the grade that I get. Yeah. And you have to know they watch this stuff. Like, there's no way Wendy's side and Justice for Dan's side do not watch. They may not be watching mine. I'm smaller potatoes, but I am local, so it makes sense if they watched it versus, you know, like Carl. Carl, I'm sure, had conversations with Jack Campbell just as a colleague, like not as, you know, peer-to-peer, attorney to attorney, prosecutor to a prosecutor. I'm sure, you know, they would have chatted, where I'm just like, I'm just a realtor who is enamored with the fact that we have a lot of criminals running around Florida. This just seems to be a thing here, Sarah Boone. It's just like Gardner. Like, we have a lot. There's a lot of like weird hits on husbands going on right now. So let me say hi to everybody. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Okay. I was on Roberta's earlier with the closing arguments. I was on Roberta Glass. I saw some of you on. Well, thank you again. That was really nice of you. And it is hot as hell here, Rebecca. It is really hot. Like right now, what is it? It is 91, but the feels like, that's what I want to know. Feels like hell is what it feels like. It just feels like hell. It's so hot. Feels like 99. And the humidity is a lot. 75. 75% humidity. The beautiful thing about it, you know, there's always I always try to have a positive about this heat, is it's not snowing. It's a big thing. And my skin looks fabulous. Like, this moisture is really good for people like Scotch-Irish people like myself. So, you know, that whole moisture thing is really nice. When I leave to go to Pennsylvania and I go above the Mason-Dixon line, I just break out and bleed out. Like, my nose is bleeding, my lips bleed, the whole thing. It's horrible. So, the last defense witnesses were yesterday, seemed to change the tide. Well, one witness we know didn't come out and speak for herself, and that is Karen Reed. She did not show up, did she? She could have. I know her. I keep taking these on and off. It's making me freak. But I won't be able to read your comments unless I make my screen a lot bigger. But she, ooh, there we go. Now I can read them. She is, she's a piece of work. Blaming her attorney on not coming out and talking and not defending herself. I think if she would have defended herself, even in a small way, come out and said a small, you know, that wasn't my car, and just reiterated what the defense was saying, they might have acquitted her. But they're not going to acquit her now. She just wasn't going to. She's not getting acquitted. It's just not happening. 9 drinks in less than 3 hours. I haven't had 9 drinks in a year. That's a lot to me. How is she so thin? If she has MS, okay, let's go with everybody. She has MS. Could be on a colostomy bag. Good luck on the alcohol on that. And a colostomy bag is when you've had your colon dissected and they take a portion out and then you need a bag. In case someone didn't know. But isn't 9 drinks in 3 hours for someone who has MS and all these physical ailments a lot? That's a lot. I just want to put this up here because it's so funny. Rabbit Ink says, oh my God, that defense witness guy yesterday was truly in his late 90s, if not actually 100 years old. Oh, it's just like, it's so Charlie Adelson of them. It's just to have, why? You go on there. Alan Jackson looks like a bobblehead to me. So he goes on there and he's like, his head's like this. It's super shiny. He's just going off and saying things that are just categorically not true. He's just categorically not even true. I just, whatever. And Katie Kool-Aid, thank you. Because I was watching her in Roberta's thread today. And I was like, what you're saying isn't even true. It didn't even happen that way. So it was a mess. I think if they were going to acquit her for some reason, it would have been done in 2.5 hours. There's no reason to go home and come back. There's just no reason. Oh, she said she worked her way up to be able to drink like that. Well, that's a lot of alcohol. And she was driving. I mean, it's a lot. She's such a light, like she's so thin. I looked on those photos for a colostomy bag and I haven't seen one, but it does. It was just like that, Katie. It was just like that. Line them up, as Carl Steinbeck said 2 Sundays ago. He goes, line them up. Let's get it going. Carl's point, which I hear him all the time say, none of these people are getting any younger, which I think is kind of funny and true. You know, anything could happen to any of these witnesses. So, but he was, I mean, I got to hand it to Jack Campbell, our state attorney. He was in a very good mood. He was jovial with me. He just kept walking. He was walking so fast. And then he slowed down, chat with me, went to his car. And that was it. I was like, sweet. I mean, I just think it's encouraging. I don't think we broke news here or anything. I think we all want Wendy arrested. He wants justice, which is good to hear from him. We hear Georgia, but it was good to hear that he wants justice too. You know, he's the big suit. He's the suit and the guy. He's the Oz, Wizard of Oz. He's the wizard. And it was good. I was happy. It made me feel good. Made me feel very... She's gonna, if they can, they will, which I don't see how they cannot. I don't see how they could not arrest her. I just don't. The more I see of the Adelson gang and it's so much analysis. I just don't see how they can. I know he wants only one, he's like, double jeopardy is a big thing. We only got one shot, is what he said. But Wendy had 2 shots, right? Wendy shot Dan twice. Technically, if she's an unindicted co-conspirator and she's part of this alleged hit crew, 2 shots to Dan Markel, and we only got 1 shot. So there is that. It's just really sad that it's 10 years and it's going to be July 22nd is her case management hearing. Courtroom Z, as in Zeta, or as in Zulu, because that's what I feel like I live, a Zulu. And then September, people have asked, will the trial be delayed? There's no way that trial is being delayed. If it was a different judge, maybe. But they've already moved the case up to satisfy the religious request. So it'll happen on that date. Debbie, I will say he did not exclude Harvey. Just so you know. And no, they will not be arrested together. Not. I think if he was going to arrest them together, they should all be arrested now. But that's not what they're doing. He said one at a time. He was very clear. One at a time. but he did not exclude Harvey being arrested. So he just said he wanted them all arrested. That's what he told me. I want them all arrested. Everybody involved, I want arrested. Judge Everett will not delay this trial, per his own statements. Oh, no, he won't even delay it a day. And God help them if they don't have their witness list together. Hi, Sheba. How are you? Welcome. But he literally said to me, I want them all arrested. Anybody involved, I want arrested. But you got to prove it. So that's it. But it was, I wouldn't want to be, well, I wouldn't want to be Wendy Adelson anyway. That's just beside the point. But I really wouldn't want to be Wendy Adelson. Really would not want to be that woman. And the delusion that those Adelsons must be under must be profound. Rabbit, that would be fun. That would be fun. They probably wouldn't eat it because they'd probably be scared. But if it was from a local bakery, they might. That would be cool. I'm glad too. I'm glad Lally had the visuals as well. But notice her attorney only had the broken glass, which I thought that did not do well. You know, the broken taillight. I don't think that did well for him when he showed that. It's not entirely broken. It's just partially broken. Dude, what are you saying? You're just like admitting it was broken. It couldn't have been broken any other way. Dude. High freedom through faith. What was the religious request? The religious request was with the Adelson trial, Donna's trial, was to move up the trial to accommodate for the Jewish holidays that were coming in September, which we all know Rashbaum knew about those holidays when he had agreed to schedule the court case. And my theory is they moved it up because now it's on home games, when before it was on away games for FSU. So now, because it's moved up, we have home games that weekend, both weekends that will surround the case. And it will be much more challenging for all the trial watchers to get a room. That's my thing. Because he said, he's Jewish. He knew what days they were, and then he agreed to. So I saw you in Roberta's feed this morning. I was sitting on the edge of my seat saying to myself, if any of these lawyers even tries to say puzzle pieces, I'm out of here. I thought Rashbaum did a better job, and I thought Rashbaum did a horrible job than this guy. I mean, you started yelling. It's not the time to start yelling at people, is it? I mean, I don't know, but it didn't seem great. Did you all see that Judge Christina Peterson was removed? I don't know who that is. So no, I did not see it. Himona's asking, she hasn't watched the Karen Reed trial. It just didn't pull her in. I got pulled in after Chicky Poo's face. Like, Karen Reed's face pulled me in. I mean, it was, how do you get away with that in the courtroom? Defendant, the attorneys, her parents, just constantly going at it. We couldn't even, I went to like a candidate forum and we were asked not to make faces or giggle or do anything. So how do you do that in a courtroom? I don't know. Oh, she was the judge that got arrested at the nightclub. That's Atlanta. I see. That was in Fulton County. Debbie says, she said she wouldn't get involved but need to finish a crochet throat for my son. Watched it today and got educated. need another fix. Well, I think people are doing a really good job on the timeline for Karen Read. I think timelines in every murder is such a big deal. I know in the Adelson trial, it's huge. The time is huge. And if you haven't seen it, if you go to the Zillow link if you put in on a website, on Zillow, it says undisclosed address, which it still shows available for rent, by the way. Shockingly. It still shows available. There's a photo. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. The Courts at South Beach condo for $5,000 a month. Undisclosed, but it's disclosed. Says 10:53 on Friday. A lot of people have been emailing me saying that they believe she put that there. That she had the clock set for 10:53 Friday in the boys' room. It's a digital clock. Carl said on Sunday that he had not seen the clock or the photo and didn't know anything about it. But I'm really curious. Did she? I'm just really curious if that woman would be so conniving as to have the clock right at 10:53 on a Friday, which is timeline. Everything is about timeline. I mean, if I were going to arrest her, I would take those photos and ask her about it. I would say, look, isn't it a coincidence that you had these photos taken on a Friday at 10:53? Or were they really taken on a Friday? Was it a different day? And is that frozen there for the boys to look at every day? Who knows? But it would be stuff. And then you see her, which I can share, above her bed. I didn't want to share the boys' room. But here it says, let me go back. You are my sunshines. There is only one way. Remember, in the case, I'm trying to enlarge the photo and not doing a good job of it. Remember in the case where Dan was fighting for custody and heard Donna Adelson specifically say to the boys, and the boys said to Daddy, Papa, what they call him, they didn't call him Papa, I forgot what they called him, but it wasn't Papa. But to say to Dan Markel, you're taking Donna's sunshines away. And here she has, right over her bed, you are my sunshine. And I'm thinking, is that really what you put over your bed? It's just so bizarre. Oh my God. The frame prints are, but that's easy to hang. They're not even straight. Like, this isn't even a straight photo, so that's Patty the realtor going in there. But this photo is clearly higher than this photo, so it could have been at a different time, but it clearly says, you are my sunshine. I'm like, what kind of message, lady, are you trying to say to people? I don't know. Just seems so, just stay on the down low, you know? She can't. She just can't stay on the down low. She can't mind her business. She's just constantly at people, and I don't like her. I just don't like Wendy Adelson. I'm sure she didn't give a shit, but I really don't like her. Rabbit saying, I was wondering, is Wendy's moved to Texas for some family related to the rumor their boys were turned away from a private school because the school wanted nothing to do? That was way early in the beginning of this nonsense. I know what school the boys go to now because someone told me, but that was a long, long time ago. Which I go back and forth on because, you know, she had to move to, the family rented that condo at 100 South Point Boulevard before Dan was shot twice in his head. but she wanted them to go to a private school. So I'm hoping and I'm sure that Georgia, Jack, and the crew obviously have the records from the school to see when were those boys enrolled. Because if they were enrolled like 2 weeks before, all that enroll timing, like she put that, I think she put that permit saying that she was living at 100 South Point Boulevard, thinking no one was ever going to look at the roof permits for Trescott. And of course I did. So I don't know. I just, did she want him in a private school? Did she want him at that South Point elementary school? When did they get enrolled? That's going to be a big question for her if she is arrested, for her court. Like, even Donna's. When did these boys get arrested? I mean, when did these boys get enrolled in this elementary school? Was this your second choice? Was the private school your first choice? Or was it after? How did they know your name was Adelson and that was a big deal and you had to move, or from Markel to Adelson? Just doesn't make any sense, the timing of it. Hello, Mert. How are you? That sunshine photo is really despicable when you think. I mean, it's her bedroom. She could decorate it however she wants, but it says a lot, man. I think it's exactly what it is. That's a great word, is taunt. Is she taunting law enforcement? Is she taunting prosecution? Is she taunting the Markels? Who is she taunting? All of us? Probably all of us. The jury for Karen Reed is done for the day. You're encouraged by Campbell's comments that something may happen soon. Just a feeling. It will not happen until Donna's trial is over. It will not happen. I mean, it's what he said. One at a time. They got Donna in. That's it. Where can you see the clock? You can go to Zillow and put in undisclosed address, Meridian Avenue, and it comes up. 10:53 on a Friday. And I didn't know it said that. And I was like, what? I mean, we did a live when I dawned on everyone that had to be around the time that Dan was shot, because there was a photo of the guys, the hit crew, going to Trescott at 10:51 and leaving Trescott at 10:55. So it was a very short period of time, and it had to be just at 10:53 approximately. It had to be. Hey, Mona says she's always playing weird games. She said she'll say Austin and move down to the coast to wherever south of Miami. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm like, Austin, she might be telling somebody Austin. I don't know. But why would she move to Austin? She might it has to be a job with the University of Texas, because what would be the point? Patty, when did Donna and Harvey get the rental at the first Icon? They had 2 rentals there. Did they have the Icon after the Wendy place? She said she lived with her parents, thought it was Coral Springs home. So, they still owned the Coral Springs home, and they rented 100 South Point Boulevard. The property on Alton Road, was after. So they didn't rent Alton until they sold the Coral Springs Road home, which we have a whole timeline on that, which I can reshare it, I guess, maybe. But the Icon came on Alton Road, and they rented 2 in the same building. But it was after Coral Springs sold. And they stayed in those rentals until they bought 2021. They bought now. Yeah, something like that. She did say, when asked, that she lived in Coral Springs with her parents after living in Tallahassee, and that is just not true. It's just not true. Her address on that roof permit is 100 South Point Boulevard. And that was 15. And that lease has been subpoenaed and received by prosecution. And that's on there. So that is untrue. And that's what made me look. Like, I always want to, whenever we do any of this stuff, and I've been doing this my whole career, is like, where's Karen Reed live? What kind of house does she have? What's it look like? Does it suit her personality? Like, I ask all those questions. So I wanted to know, and how it started was, I wanted to know, did they fix up Trescott? I didn't know. I didn't know they were just about the books. Because Dan was really just about the books. The house had not been renovated or none of that. And if you remember, the Trescott had the mirror of the owl. So I was like, whoa. So when I looked at the roof permits, there were 2 roof permits. Remember, after Dan was killed, there was a tree that actually did go into Trescott. And that is probably where, likely, assuming, Wendy got the story about the tree falling in the neighborhood, right? So liars, what we do know is that typical people who do not tell the truth tell some truth, so it can be perceived as honest. So I looked it up. There were 2. One was from a builder named Meeks. One was built by a builder named Pafford. The second builder is who she hired to do the roof, or who the insurance company hired, depending on the insurance. But the first one had 100 South Point Boulevard as her address. And I was like, that's not Coral Springs, because she said on the stand it was Coral Springs. How many times did she say on the stand Coral Springs? That is not what she said. The second permit, and I can go find it right now. The second permit has her attorney's address. So that wasn't true. The whole thing is just kind of like, let me get those permits for you. I should just keep them up instead of just pulling them up all the time. I should just have them ready to go, but I don't. But that permit was like, whoa, Charlie Brown, why is she doing that? It just didn't make sense. To me, everything has to make sense, but I'm not an attorney. Not one. But this clearly says on here, and they might just kill me for it when I do this. Let's see. So on 3/6/15, hopefully YouTube won't lock me off, but on 3/6/15, let me see if I can just download this so I can block some of it. See it? See it? Just a second. I got it. I had to block some of it so YouTube won't lose its mind on me. But anyway, here it is. 100 South Point Drive. I don't know why I keep saying Boulevard. Drive. Right there. That is not the Coral Springs home. And Meeks Construction did the development. And they're the ones that replaced the roof. This was signed by Wendy on March 16th, 2015. So it wasn't even a year. They did. So that was signed after. The prosecution, I figured this out. I didn't know if they had it. I sent it to the FBI. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but whatever happened, shortly after they pulled the lease for this property. Mentor lawyer showed it. They had leased this property. Harvey, Charlie, someone was paying for this property prior to Dan being murdered. So that's what happened. So her formal residence, and it's notarized. You got to show a driver's license, right? Don't you have to show a driver's license? When you get a notary, I'm a notary. I make people show my driver's license. She went up there to have this done. So it was 2015. She shows up at the courthouse. She wrote this down. I didn't write it down for her. Hey, Tippy, thank you. I'll let James know. Thank you very much. So anyway, that's what happened with her. So do I believe that she was living with the parents? No. They had this rented. They had this ready to go. In my opinion, and it's a theory, you only have to have one form of ID. In Florida, you only have to have one form of ID. And it says it was personally known or as Bruce ID, and it would have been there. And she would have had to change her address. Now, she could have kept it as the Trescott, but that's not what she wrote on here. She wrote 100 South Point Drive. I can't, I don't know if that's a lie or not. I just know what she writes versus what she says. This is the unit that she lived in. It's for sale now. Someone went in and completely renovated it. I mean, it's beautiful. Completely renovated it. Absolutely beautiful. This is where she was living. Now, wasn't this beautiful? Like all of that beautiful marble floor, I would fall on my ass. Like I would just fall out. But this is where the girl was living. It's not Coral Springs, people. And you can see in the, let me take it back to the listing. Here, this is the entire listing through Zillow, right? They had it for rent here. For rent, $13,000 a month. $811. Then they sold it, but my belief is that they were still living in it because she says so. And then they moved shortly after. Well, they listed it for sale here, sold it here, but she's signing on that then. So she's signing this March 6th. So somewhere in here, she was still running it. If they took this unit anywhere in here before this, there is a lot, which mentor lawyer, you got to believe him. He got a copy of that receipt. There's a problem. Big, big problem. How's she going to overcome that? Well, be careful. Tunnels scare me. Washington only need a driver's license in her second form of ID. Fletcher's 666. Yes, please hit the like button. I'm getting used to asking for that. Hey, Sonny, how are you? I saw you on Roberta's channel as I was getting my nails done. Yeah. Both the Continuum and Icon buildings are amazing, and they're very close to each other. I did a map a while back, and they're right near each other. The Alton Road, you can't find the clock. Look for the boys' bunk beds. It's on that wall opposite the boys' bunk beds. That's what we're all anxious to see, Yank. That's exactly what we were talking about. How long does it take to get your kid registered? Do I have a picture of the clock? I'm sure I do. Let me see. I have a whole file devoted to Wendy. Let me see. I just wanted to block out the boys' room. That was my biggest problem. Here it is. Hold on. Let me crop it. I found it. See it? Can you see it? It says Friday, 10:53. You can't sign the kids up for school until you have proof of residence, and in Florida, she would have signed them up in August for kindergarten. Except for the fact that the lease was signed prior to her move. She moved, 3 days after the man was killed in his garage? And the lease was signed prior to that. It was signed in May. So she could have had them registered really anytime. She has to have a lease, doesn't she? I'm asking other people this, like I should know. That her lease she has to have some sort of ID, like her driver's license, the lease, something has to show her name on it to get her kids into that school. What year was what, Sheba? Well, it's Texas, my friend. They're moving to Texas. So that's why everyone thinks, oh, more signs from her. They have family in Corpus Christi, which isn't really like Texas, but that's it. She changed the last name with 2 months. Yep. So he's killed July. The lease was signed in May. When does her address get changed? Because just because they have a lease, I have to go. I joined Mentor Lawyer so I could see his old stuff. Yeah, that school zone, you have to be, from what I'm told by someone who knows, you have to be south of 5th. There's a very small radius for the school zone that the kids went into, which was a public school. So she'd have to have were they registered as Adelsons? Likely, and then she moved it. She changed her name after. September 14th, when school started in Miami, the last name was changed. It was that fast? Good God. The clock does have the word Friday on it. That says Friday. Miami-Dade schools. I think I looked it up before. Miami-Dade. There was a calendar online. (14 to 15). School started in August. First day of school was August 18th. So you can see it right here. First day of school was August 18th. So when they originally were registered, there's no way she got it changed in 30 days. How do you do that? How do you enroll your kids as not their legal name? Anyway, that's when it started that year because I checked. I wanted to know. How do you change your kid's name in school without it being changed? How much pull did this family really have? It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so they started August 14th. She immediately gets them into that school, that area. But rumor was that there was a private school. I don't know the name of the school, but they supposedly told her, no way, Jose, that they weren't going in. Was there any buzz in the Democrat about what, Sonny? She is. But not kosher. I don't think she's eating peanut butter every day. Fun fact, Tim says, the playgroup that the boys moved into was with a long wait list. The vibe that Donna did the bookings ahead of time, that playgroup, I'm not surprised. Once I found that lease issue and that she had changed her address to not Coral Springs, I'm not surprised at all. I would personally rather remember someone too. I heard somewhere the boys were at a Jewish school and Phil and Ruth were going to visit. Wendy had to tell them using Adelson because it was all over any of the kids' artwork school. Yikes. The crew, jurors must find stressful. Yeah, Patty has receipts. I don't like to talk about things I don't know. It's too easy to get called out on YouTube land. It's good, too easy to get called out. I don't want to be that person. I'm very anti-Adelson. Not that anyone would know. I don't care. But I'm very anti-Adelson. Very anti-Adelson. I just can't even. Whenever I think about that poor man leaving the premier gym, it just blows the head. Patty, what are the chances Donna and Harvey secured the 100 South Beach condo at the same time the Omni was under contract? Might show they rented for her to get the kids in that school district. There was no contract with Omni that I know of. That was after the fact. And they only leased. Their home in Coral Springs was not for sale when they leased this condo at 100 South Point. Was not even for sale. So remember, Jeffrey Lacoste is on the stand. Jeffrey Lacoste, which is other cue I had, repeats. Wendy's going home. She's constantly in South Florida all the time around the beach, going home, cleaning out her bedroom. I was like, girl's in her late 30s. What the hell is she doing in her bedroom all the time? And that's when my brain started kicking. I was like, why would they do that? Well, let me look at her house. I thought the Coral Springs house was very cool. That was a very cool house. And I was like, the boys aren't babies. Why did they still have baby stuff in the Coral Springs house when it was listed for sale? But they had it after 2015 is when they sold it. I just don't like her. I just don't like any of them. I don't like Harvey. I can't believe the fact that I know now Harvey is as short as he is fits my image of what a thug like he really is. Just a thug. Just dirty, breaking someone's jaw and surgery, like as a dentist. Like what kind of human are you? Ugh. He's just walking around Whole Foods like he's got nobody looking at him, but I'm glad somebody was looking at him. You think D&H were living in the Coral Springs house when Harvey worked in Tamarack? I do. I think Donna is the only one that would go down with Wendy. I think that condo at 100 South Point was a lure for her. And does anyone know where Charlie was renting? Remember when Fitzpatrick was on the stand or talking to everybody? He was talking to everybody, every podcast till he got nailed for what he was saying. But do you remember when Pat Fitzpatrick, Charlie's old friend, said Charlie rented a place as well? Where was Charlie renting? Does anybody know which condo? And Fitzpatrick would go down and they would do whatever they did together. Aventura. You can't find the Whole Foods photo. Oh, let me show you. It's fancy. Fancy fiction. Girl is... She is something else. She got... Talk about receipts. Let me see if I can find it now. Here it is. She got receipts if there were ever receipts. When I grow up, I want to be fancy fiction. She is a mess. She's got it all. She's like, no. Her comments are just so amazing. Look at this. Do not cross. That's the Whole Foods photo. I'm just gonna enjoy it. Let me give Fancy her credit because it's due. He did not say that, Lorraine. He just said he wants everyone responsible before it's done. But they didn't say he's getting all of them. Said everyone. Everyone and all, I think, are different because he has to be able to prove it. So I think that was a little different. But he didn't say, hey, we're stopping at Wendy. We didn't have that long of a conversation to say we're stopping at one or the other. He just wants justice for Dan. And that's what he said. Patty has the story wrong on the PR school. We wanted to move them to Montessori, but the M school would not take them because the background too disruptive word in letter. Thank you for that, Tim. The letter of rejection said that the presidents of the boys at the Montessori school would be too disruptive to the other students. Thank you for that. They do have the same hips, square, and probably likely both knock-kneed, but she's definitely knock-kneed. Yeah, square hips. You know, from your mouth to God's ears, I have no idea, but there's got to be more to it. I've known dentists, and maybe they're just not as good with their money. I don't know, but I don't see how. He didn't inherit it. His mother was living in a tiny apartment unless she stowed away a lot of cash. I have no idea. And her name was Elizabeth. His father's name was Aaron. No idea how they had so much wealth. Yeah, he's definitely not with a trainer. Doesn't he just look like a dumpy old man now with no ass? Like, he has literally no ass. It can't be. It cannot be from dentistry. Just cannot. And it's not from real estate. I mean, they didn't have that many properties that... Ugh. Harvey is who taught Wendy how to be in the background. Harvey's the one who perfected how to pull that off, and Wendy was his eager student. I think they're very close. I don't like her. Wendy was supposed to inherit $500,000. Yeah, she inherited money, but it's not like we're talking about wealth. We're talking about living where they're living. That's wealth, like big wealth. Patty, have you looked through Karen's social media for other boyfriends? No, I have not. I have not spent that much time on Karen Reed. Okay. I have not spent that much time on her because I've been selling houses. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. We have been selling houses, and thank God for that. She doesn't have much of anything. Like, I'm still looking for the colostomy bag. Someone was it Sunday? They were like, Karen has MS. Like, Karen has all these, like, diseases. Fine. She may not. I don't know. But Karen has, like, a colostomy bag. And I'm like, for Crohn's. So she might have MS. She might have Crohn's. She might have a colostomy bag. And I'm like, that suit coat's kind of tight for a colostomy bag. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's ironic. I think it'll be pathetic. And I don't think it will happen. Well, just you, Joe. She did not have 9 drinks. I mean, testimony's testimony. And did they count all the drinks that everyone had? I don't think that was part of the testimony. And I don't think what everyone else had to drink mattered because not everyone else was up on charges. He is not 6'5". He is not 6'5". My son is 6'5". He is not 6'5". He is barely 6'1". Charlie Adelson is nowhere near 6'5". I can't imagine cheap-ass Harvey sitting at a table in an outrageously expensive South Beach condo, putting quarters into rolls and to deposit washer dryer change into his bank account. What a jerk. Hey, they made good money on that, right? You made reservations at the Residence Inn at the Capitol. Residence Inn at the Capitol. If I think it is the one, I think that's the one over on Gain Street, right? Yep, it's Gain Street. I never know what, they title those things. It is probably 7 or 8 blocks, maybe a little bit more. You could walk it, but you'll be hot. You'll want to get an Uber or something. It's not that close to the Capitol. Because you're 6 blocks down. You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. You are 6 down. You're at least a mile or so from the Capitol. I mean, from the courthouse, which is right across the street from the Capitol. Any guy that involves themselves. But people date these people. I wouldn't be surprised if she's not dating someone on her team. Karen Reed. That's Harvey's little princess, the one. I know. He photoshopped her breasts. That is just not normal. Is Aaron related to the Minces in Texas? I've waited to assume Harvey's side of the family. I believe it's his mother. I have a little tree going on Ancestry, on the family. And I believe it's Harvey's mother's side of the family is a Mintz. M-I-N-T-Z. It's not temporary with most people. It's not. That's not true. It's often temporary, but it's not most people. So she no longer has a bag. Good for her. Yeah, he did a Photoshop of Wendy and her boobs. That was in her Wendy in the purple dress. They said 9 drinks today. Drinks is a lot. If you're not a heavy drinker, I think you meant 9 because that's where your upper key hit. People drink huge volumes of alcohol and can function. Not hard to understand. If I had 9 drinks and I'm a big girl, I would not be able to function. Everything she has done for those kids is wrong. This kid must be feeling so rejected and ashamed, missing more than their dad to protect them. I know. I mean, the kids are going to just be growing up curious. They just are. Next to Rash Bomb, yeah, Charlie looks 7, but he wasn't. He is not that tall. You knew someone who was in a coin laundry place and is a millionaire from it. Well, I know a guy here in town who owns, which I think they're clever names, Wash Around the Clock. I really like them. So it's cool. He makes good money. Did I know that Ruth Markel would be on with Webster and Batiste on STS? I did not. Thank you very much for telling me. I did not. And then there's this. Kim just calls it. She just calls it like I do. Karen's full of shit. There are only 2 documented attempts that we know of, and I think there's some dispute in that with the way. If you read Catherine Magbanua's deposition, it kind of gets convoluted on this, so. The AC Marriott is right in Cascades Park. And by the way, they have a lovely bar. Lovely, lovely bar. Lovely restaurant bar. We went there for Mother's Day. It was lovely. It couldn't have possibly. I mean, Wendy's walking around thinking she's unscathed. Kim says it was all on video. We're going to Karen Reed. Her 9 shots, and Karen started drinking at 3. I walked 90 blocks in New York City in August. It's fine in Tally in September. You go, Sonny. I'm going to run a truck. I'm going to run an Uber that week. I'm going to be Ubering people. I did watch the closing arguments. I watched the defenses. I have not yet watched the prosecution. I was getting my nails done. I was watching on Roberta Glass's channel. And Wendy and Karen didn't help with the funeral, just like Wendy ghosted the loved ones. Yeah. Lolly says people work, drive, etc. with BAC of 0.3. Some really can put it away. Saw it in the ER all the time. Oof. You can't physically knock out of a taillight by bumping bumpers. Cars are built to not have parts hanging off that would hit another car. She didn't sideswipe John's car. Ruth and Baptiste and Webster, Stephen Webster, which I just passed their office today, will be on at 7. Someone gave me Stephen Webster's cell phone number to contact him, and I just don't have the balls. I wish I had. I need somebody to start booking for me. Because I just don't have the nuts to book people. No offense to anybody with nuts. How come everyone's a rabbit and no one's a hare? Cool. Good for you, Sonny. What do you make of Wendy's yoga clothes? Well, if you visit Tallahassee and you go to that Whole Foods here in town, that is what you're going to see. Not by me. I will not be in yoga clothes, but I'm a much larger person than Wendy. Taller, but wider. So I think it's normal. We have no idea with what happened with Wendy's boyfriend. I don't even know. Someone said his name was like Jorge Lubbock. There's one Jorge Lubbock registered to anything in the United States, and he lives in California. So I don't think that's an accurate name. My nails were first because they were trash. And my guy was out of town, and now they look beautiful. I love the color. Love it. is Wendy renting her condo. The condo apparently is still lived in, according to my source, by Wendy Adelson, and it has not been rented, as it's still listed for rent for $5,000. She has not lowered it, not $1. Yeah, someone gave me the name Jorge Lubbock, and when you go to look it up, there's one in the entire country, and he does not live in Texas. So maybe he's moving to Texas for her. I don't know. Wendy had such a long alibi trial on July 18th. I wonder how many alibis she had in early June on the first attempt. That is a great question, Cheryl. And one I am looking forward to hearing at her upcoming, hopefully, trial. No one is going to rent it for that amount. Hey, Debbie, what are you saying? You saying that furniture isn't worth it? She wants to rent it furnished. Okay? So if you have $60,000 a year to rent a 4-story condo on the second floor without a view, without real closet space, and a dirty bathroom, and tile that's stained by God only knows what, you too can have the furniture. Well, I don't know what his name is, because it can't be Jorge Lubbock. I mean, not and own anything. He may not own anything in his name, but I have pretty good record searches, and I couldn't find the guy. Do I think Markels will be able to visit the boys in Austin? No. Not willingly. No. But they're 15 and 14, right? Aren't they 15 and 14 now? I said 13 and 14 and I was corrected. So I think they're 14 and 15. And at some point, they're going to be able to do what they want. My stepson was adopted at birth. And he waited until his mother passed away. She died of lung cancer. Like 7 or 8 years ago now. And he waited years until after Lauren passed away to look for his biological parents, and found them, and then went to go see them and has a relationship with them now. So it can happen. He was not, I don't think he was, I think obviously he was always curious, but I think he didn't want to hurt or injure his mother by asking about his biological parents, who they met when they were adopted. They met the mother. And I just think, he was always curious. My husband didn't stop him. Like, what am I going to do? So I think there's always a chance that the boys could have some curiosity about what's going on. I think it's different than the Mike Williams case here in Tallahassee with Cheryl Williams. I mean, Cheryl came out and she really fought for the justice for her son. And that girl is an only child. There's not 2, there's 1. And she's still very loyal to her mother, who is no longer serving on life without parole. She gets out like 20 more years. And I think there always is curiosity. It's what you choose to do with it. Very funny. The thing that upsets George about the KR trial, Karen Reed, is that it is all about her and not about justice for... It never is. It never is, George. And that's the saddest part about the American judicial system. No one has rights but the person sitting on the left side of the courtroom. No one has rights. No one. Not the victims, not the victim's family. Nobody has rights but that person sitting on trial. And it's very upsetting. And the more I watch these court cases, the more upset it gets. The more upsetting it gets. The more upset, like, Karen's attorney can say whatever the hell he wants. He's not being challenged. He's not being challenged in closing arguments. Daniel Rashbaum did the same thing. Said whatever he wanted about the puzzle pieces. And no one could really, whatever. But the only person who had rights in that courtroom was Charlie. Mrs. Markel didn't have rights. She got removed. She got put back, but she was removed. She had no rights to represent her child. She is there but for the grace of the judge. And I think we all learned that. It's very upsetting. The June phone records were reviewed by Kyle Grish. Someone mentioned him to me today, was Grish. I had not heard of him, so I can't really say about his things. When the boys turn 18, are they going to take the money and run? I think from what I'm told by my sources, I have two, they are very responsible boys and they're extremely intelligent. So I think us saying that they won't have anything to do with the Markels or what, they're very intelligent, and I think you have to rely on that they are not just Adelsons. They are half Markels, and with half Markels, their father was very sentimental. Their father was very loyal to family. Family meant a lot to the father, Dan. And so I think at some point you have to rely on that. It's not, I mean, I think we've all seen custody cases where the kid's 14, 15, 16 and can choose to go see grandma, grandpa, and mommy, daddy. Now, will Wendy not throw a damn fit? They may not do it while Wendy's still their sole parent, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't have an opportunity in a court to say, hey, I want to see my grandparents, because they would. From what I'm told, those Markel boys get 15 minutes with that family, and that's still it. That's it. Tim says, I don't think the state's doing much for the first attempt because Rivera was the designated trigger man on that chip. The state needs to show the get-a driver as a clean to the jury. I don't think they're showing it yet. I think, remember, Wendy has use immunity. They cannot bring up everything they have while she is testifying in these trials. They cannot. Because if she answers to it with use immunity, I'm not an attorney, I just watch a lot of trials, then they would not be able to use it against her. So assuming the state is not using certain things, I just don't believe anymore. I believe 100% that they're not using those things because they're saving it. Cheryl Williams doesn't get to visit Avery. Well, Avery is an adult now, and she is choosing not to see her father's parents because she is 100% on her mother's side. She does not believe her mother did anything. Kid's got a rough road. It's a rough road to hoe to build that story in your head and keep it there. Right? Isn't that hard? I mean, haven't we all been through like a boyfriend breakup or girlfriend breakup, some story in our life, some sort of trauma, as my business partner Scott says, there's trauma there. Some sort of trauma where we craft the story to make ourselves feel better. And that girl, who's an adult, has a lot of story to protect herself against what happened to her father, Mike Williams. A lot. It's a hard life. I wouldn't want it. Bingo. So do I, Tater. I think one of those boys will rebel, and the way to rebel against their mother is to go to the father's family. Harry and Prince William. 100%. They may not rebel, but I do think one would. One's going to be curious. There's no way to stop it. One is absolutely going to be curious. If there were just one child, maybe, but not with two. Anyone run with the idea that Chucky told Cam that the money was laundered, not traceable, not that it was washed? My guess, no. I don't think so. I don't think they had those conversations. Catherine Magbanua is not that smart. I wouldn't even worry about it. They're very high IQs. But there's two of them. They're going to have their own girlfriends. They're going to have all of this information. And outside people, if they don't already, that are in their head. They just can't do anything. It's just like when we were 14 and 15, we had ideas of what our life was going to be like. Did I ever think my life was going to turn out like this? No. But we all had ideas about escaping our parents and being free and what that looks like. I'm sure they have it too. Tim says he wrote Jack Campbell email with a critique of the poor prop that Campbell did on that first trial. Told me to fuck off. Well, don't go after someone's attorney. That's my guess to you. I wouldn't do it. Cat's in the cradle. I think, I don't know, but I would be more upset my grandmother was in prison than anything else. Those boys have got to wonder about it. Rosemary agrees with me. Thank you. They're saving a lot. Kim says too. I think they have to. You can't give immunity, partial immunity to someone and then spill your guts throughout the trial to make a bunch of YouTubers happy. It's just not work that way. There may be a chance we'll never be happy. I don't believe that now, but there could be. I wish I was better at Photoshop skills so I could figure out what's in her. Don't you want to know what's in her bag? Like, probably some organic hunt. I wonder what story they have told those boys about their grandma. Right? What do you say? The lady who really raised you is now in jail in Tallahassee. We're all the bad guy, and they're good people. That's a huge story. You got to constantly reiterate and iterate to those boys. It just doesn't make any sense. No different than Avery Williams. Frozen single-serve pizza. Just trying to know what this is sticking out of her bag. There's always lies. Every family, there's always secrets in families, but what do you tell two boys? Grandma's in jail for killing your father. Harvey's lawyer just got switched, right? Harvey now has an African-American team. If you recall. He changed them. I don't know who they are, but he changed to an African American team. I thought I saw on. Is this? No. I'll have to look for it, but I know he just changed his attorneys. I know he's changed them to this an African American woman and man, which I don't know. I've never heard of them. I think they are South Florida people. Which again, why would you do that? Why are you choosing South Florida people? But I'm not here to help you, Harvey. Harvey's wealth. Don't forget Patty. He, according to Wendy, lost all his money in a Ponzi scheme when Wendy was in high school. So how did he acquire? That's what I'm asking. Carl said Rashbaum was at the jail with Miss Thang, Princess and the P, and from like 8 o'clock at night on, or it was like late in the evening, for 3 hours at that jail with her. I hope the boys constantly question Wendy about Chuck and Donna being incarcerated. This person, look. The cart's right here. This person is not far from them that took this photo. They could have overheard something. We don't know. I wouldn't know where to speak or how to speak about anything. I agree. I don't get it. I never got Jeffrey. I think Jeffrey Lacoste is a handsome guy. And I have no idea what he saw in this woman. I have absolutely no idea. She's so sexual. Remember? I make myself laugh. He goes, she's so sexual. She's just so vibrant. She's so amazing. I'm like, no, she's not. She's knock-kneed, square hips, and obnoxious. With her... Ugh. Shoes are dirty. Did everyone see the A&E on the case at the end? Ruth says the family. Yep. Imagine sitting across from the table. A couple years later, you're watching all your in-laws get arrested for your son's murder. Unbelievable. I have absolutely no idea what Harvey's into. But he's not buying any more real estate. Your husband was murdered when our baby son was just 2 years old, and I had to tell him the truth and the circumstances around it when he was 9. Saved him from others' people view of the real truth. I'm so sorry, July. That's horrible. I'm glad you told him, though. I'm glad you chose that route instead of the other route when people find out later, and then there's a lot of TV shows about that. A lot of movies. Remember the old movies of the week? A lot of that. I think he got cash up front. I think he got cash up front. I think Rashbaum got cash up front. True Lifestyles just posted 30 minutes ago. Jail call logs, innocence, and requests. Susan's on it. Good for her. She did that before. She's good at that. She sits there and does all those white pages, research. It's her amazing blue eyes. Stop it, Tater. No. Yeah, the whole car rental and cars, the stair need graphics. You should get some kids in graphic design at FSU. Way better at the second trial. Okay. I don't disagree. Dan's father did publicly say he believes the boys are brainwashed, and it's probably true, just like Mike Williams' daughter, who would have been so very lucky to have a grandma like Ms. Cheryl. He's the one who sees them. I've never met the boys. I've seen a few pictures of them, and that's all. I just have to pray. You just have to pray that they have some of their father in them, and therefore they will be curious, because Dan appears very curious about life and the law and education and people and how things were supposed to be done. And he was a very ethical man. So I just have to pray that those boys have some of that in them. Well, thank you, Carol. I hope I make your day. That is very nice of you. And justice for John O'Keefe. Again, people are like, Karen's, a man was murdered. A man was left to die. There's not a lot of other people that could be in on this massive conspiracy. Tell me all the scientists are in on it. All the reconstructionists are in on it. Come on. I mean, it's, again, the stories you tell yourself to make yourself feel better. Well, he hasn't bought pants anytime soon, Kathy, so I have to agree with you. One people that are speculating about is there might be a cop body cam on site on Friday. However, looked up when Florida went on to body-worn cameras. And 2014 July is very early for that. Bad luck. Hey, Jeanette. Wendy needs to go to prison. I appreciate your opinion. I like that you have your own opinion. I like that have your own. What are people going to do? Like, what are the people who are like, I'm very invested in the Adelsons going to jail. What are people, one way or the other? Like, when I was sitting there and Charlie could have been acquitted. I mean, he wasn't, praise the Lord. But what if he was? Like, what would people do? What are the Karen people, the pro Karen Reed people, going to do if she's not acquitted? What will happen? What are those people in pink screaming outside the courthouse? Because none of us did that with Charlie, because it wouldn't have been tolerated. So what are those people that are with Karen, with Karen, going to do if she's found guilty? Just what if? I mean, they're screaming and hollering, and eventually they're going to go home to their own lives and cook a casserole or take their kids to soccer or, write a letter maybe. But what are they going to really do? There's nothing you can do. All you can do is, pray for Karen, pray for the O'Keefe family. That's all we can really do. Getting so upset. I mean, I have seen friendships over this Karen Reed thing torn apart. Why? You don't know these people. Like, why are you getting so freaking involved that you would lose a friendship over this? I just don't understand. I don't understand it. There's just no reason to be so involved in a trial where you have look, all I can say is Ruth Markel, the Markels, mom and dad, Sherry, the grace that these people exhibit is unbelievable to me. I met Ruth Markel one time for like an hour and a half, and it changed my whole thinking about a victim's family, how you present yourself, decorum. It was just amazing. She is an amazing woman. Sherry Ballard in Bardstown, Kentucky, same thing. I haven't watched the O'Keefe trial enough to know. But these people, literally, the only people who have rights is the defendant. And these people show up every day and try to represent their child. And then you got people out on the courthouse screaming for Karen Reed. Dude's dead in the yard, which I showed last week. The yard is not 25 meters or 30 steps or 80 steps. It was none of that. It's not a big enough yard to be 25 meters. It just isn't. The yard is not big where the Alberts lived. That's why I like to look at real estate and a crime. What are you on the opposite side, the pro Karen Reed people, going to do? Are you going to lose your shit because she's found guilty? You got to think of that. Like, how are you going to handle yourself? I think we all remember when OJ was found not guilty, and I was like, what? How did that happen? But I still went about my business. Like, I didn't lose family members over OJ. Your ex-husband had Jose Baez and he was still convicted? Holy cajoli, Kim. Because of your great podcast, all will get their due. I don't know what that means, but I hope it's okay. It is extremely hot today, and I hope everyone, I hate saying hydrate, but whatever, hydrate. Ruth is dignity in class. And I didn't watch all of the O'Keefe trial, Karen Reed, but his family's in there. And people are out like, I don't know. I just don't know that that's the way to present yourself. parents need to face who killed him. Policeman covered for another. She can't. What if she is, Jeanette? Just pretend. What if she is? There is at least a 50-50 shot that she is. And I just don't understand, like, you're reading The Unveiling, and I love Ruth and the Markel family. I liked them before. Now I love them. I feel like I know her personally. I have the book signed by Ruth. I've listened to it on Audible, which I think is so impactful. But I don't read paper books now, but I do listen. And her book is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I had no idea until that book that she was on the phone with Dan before that teacher was on the phone with Dan. And it was only by the grace of God she was not on the phone with Dan when Dan was shot twice in the head. If Wendy plays the victim to her boys playing up that brother and mother are murderers, it keeps the family divided. Division is important for a lot of people. They need that. They absolutely need it. His mother cried so much it's out of control. It's got to be horrible, you know? What a good guy. I mean, the guy was a good guy. He took in his niece and nephew. He adopted them. He was a good officer. He didn't need to do anything. You relate so much to the trial and the Adelsons. I'm very sorry, Kim. That's awful. She is kind, gentle, and stoic. She's a pillar of strength, hope, courage, and wisdom. I met her in person in May. She has dignity and integrity. And we all watched her. You know, her watch goes off, so she had to leave the courtroom, and she comes back. But I hate to say it, but Ruth Markel has no rights. The only person who had rights was the person on the left side with all the attorneys. You know, now he has no rights, so it all worked out. But you gotta be prepared that your side could. I wasn't there when the verdict was read on Charlie's trial. I went home. Sonny's like, I said, well, I'm gonna go to the office. It was like 15 minutes later they come back. I had completely wrong. So I'm not an odds maker here, but you do have to think that they're not going to. It could come down to either side. It's a cover-up. Call it a conspiracy if that makes you feel better. I don't know what that's. I mean, I'm sure I said something that bothered. I saw a comment on X, supposedly Elizabeth, Karen's younger sister. She had some mighty strong words to describe Karen. None flattering. Well, that's shit. When your sister can't even. That's my challenge with the Adelsons. Is there's nobody who would come out to defend Charlie Adelson. Not one soul. Not one soul. They only got Wendy's divorce attorney, which, let's face it, not a good look, to come out and defend this man. Not a character witness, not a soul. No, I know there's the defense, the take of we don't really need to put on a defense. Okay, you can run with that. Legally, you're right, you don't. But you might want to. You might want to show up with someone who likes Karen. Hadn't seen her. I'm glad you did. Did you see her here in town? Where did you see her? Oh, good. I'm glad. It is a really good book. I think the person who reads the text of The Unveiling does a beautiful job. I have a video out that I put out this lunchtime. It was 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, that I talk about Jack Campbell. I had a brief conversation with him. I don't even know if he knew who I was or what I was about to do with the information he gave me. So there is that. And he told me, I was like, he was running quickly. Jack was like, not running, but walking really quick. He held the door for me. I was like, hey, are you in a hurry? Because you're going to arrest Wendy Adelson. And our conversation went from there. And he was like, ha, ha, ha. And he goes, one at a time, one at a time. So he didn't say he wasn't going to arrest her. He didn't say he is going to arrest her, but he said one at a time. George is working really hard on it, and he wants justice for all. Everyone. It's everyone involved that he can get. I'm like, bless it. Then I had a conversation. I said to him, I think a lot of people, when he does one at a time, I think a lot of people don't realize that this county, it's really hard to get multiple people tried and convicted at the same time. And I mentioned Siegfried and Meg Benua, and he was like, yep. And so I know there was a burnt there that she had a mistrial. And so I understand, but I live in this county and I understand this county. And I just researched it this afternoon. The last time there was a death penalty was 2011 with Gary Hilton. And there was a guy who was convicted, Henry Segura, was convicted of killing his wife and children and was not given the death penalty. So this town is a very liberal town. Death penalty cases do not come up and they do not win. They will get life in prison without parole. Just is. 13 years and no other death penalty case. This is absolutely not true. This is absolutely unequivocally not true, Lily. The trustee is Sherry Adelson. That is not true. Not Sherry, Shelley. Who's this? Elizabeth, is that her sister? Karen is a toxic, evil, narcissist, sociopath, and cares only about herself. I don't bear to see what she's done to my family. The innocent people accused in John. Whoa. I bet Papa Reed wouldn't like that. Somebody's not going to dinner. Wendy has insulted herself and obeys everything John Laurel tells her to do. Well, she should. She pays him $800 an hour. People have been going after the EMTs who tried to save John. This is seriously low life. Why would they do that, Martyr? You'll have to tell me. Oh, you met Ruth in Toronto. Nice for you. Googling Karen Reed. I'm Elizabeth Reed. I am too. Let me do that. This is crazy. Defense team mob by... Whoa. They mob people leaving the courtroom? That's crazy. Y'all are getting awfully invested in a woman that could give two ding-dongs about you. Well, thank you, Jay. It took a lot of nuts for me to ask it. You have to know. Like, it's not my way. My way is to sit in the back and get out as quickly as I can and get to my truck and leave. That is my way. But I did it. It was a big growth moment for me, Jay, to ask Jack Campbell a question. Very difficult. Oh, you went to Joel's book signing. Nice. They'll binge on ice cream after... I mean, I just don't understand. Like, I really hope Donna is convicted. I mean, I hope, but it's not going to, like... The only day that's going to be affected is the Markel family's day. That's who's going to be affected. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, Wesley. WJH. Henry Segura, you recognize the case? I looked into it because I think Dubin worked it. I may be wrong. I don't know who his attorney was. Let me see. Hankinson was the judge. Nate Prince was his attorney. Nate Prince was his attorney. No one I knew. What? What happened? I'd be happy to interview you. My number's in the notes. Feel free to call me. Jay says he's lost so many respect for so many other creators. Oh, I'm sorry. We're all human, so I don't know what. Obviously, that's the beauty of this, is I don't know what you think about me. It's probably best. It's best to know that I don't know what you think about me. People brought their kids here to support, I guess they're off of school. Yeah, they're off of school. But it's just that whole, I'm not going to jail because of a riot, because of a defendant. I'm just not. Segura, Dubin has been all over that. I don't know that that's the case. So Henry Segura, he really, talk about affecting real estate. This man, it was over on Dry Creek, in the neighborhood called Dry Creek. And it was in the southeast side of Leon County. And the family was slaughtered in the house. Just absolutely slaughtered. And just slaughtered. And it took years. People didn't know what was going on. Years for that conviction. And 9 years. It was 2010. And it was a tough... that house was... It was like a Manson house. There was blood literally everywhere. Everywhere. And he didn't get the death penalty. When I spoke of Stenberg, Florida, whoever the name is, I was talking of Donna's attorney only. Thanks, Chris. Very much nice of you. You wish you could go to Donna's trial. Well, I will be there for you. Vicariously, if they still let me in after I quoted Jack Campbell. Do I want to catch on Ruth? They're supposed to start. I do, Rabbit. That is a great stop for me. And it is... Let me give you my email. My email is pattyisfunny@gmail.com, Jeanette. For the obvious, I'm funny. But yeah, I'm going to end it here. So you guys, if you want to go watch Ruth, that would be fabulous because she's just lovely. And I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for your encouragement because I needed it today because I don't have, I'm a lot. Appreciate you all very much. Take care. Bye-bye. I'm ending now. Bye-bye.